Hello, everyone. My name is James Phoenix, and welcome once again to the Lair of the Phoenix. Well, we're running slightly late tonight, but as promised on Friday, we are here to take a look at Season 2 of the hit ABC series Once Upon a Time. Joining me for this review from the Mole Hole, Chris the Mole.
That was my other name. Once the Season 2 curse hit, I got my memories back, and I swear I was Humpty Dumpty.
I believe it.
Because what else would make sense for Humpty Dumpty to be translated into the modern world but a fat guy sat down playing games?
Yeah.
I'm kidding, I'm not Humpty Dumpty, obviously. But
and if my knowledge of comics is correct, that's also what translates him into a good Batman villain, apparently.
Partly right. The part you were wrong about is good.
Fair enough.
Because I don't think anyone's like, oh yeah, ooh, who should we see in the new Batman film? I want to see Joker, I want to see Riddler, Penguin, Humpty Dumpty, Two-Face. No one mentions him.
Agree. We'll talk about Batman another time, but yes, we are here to talk about Season 2 of Once Upon a Time. When we last left our heroes, again, for those of you just tuning in that didn't see the first episode, go watch the first episode review, the first season review in our first episode for Friday. Go check that out. But basic premise: bail bondswoman Emma Swan from Boston is suddenly approached at her apartment by the son she gave up for adoption 10 years ago at his birth. To bring him home, she goes to Storybrooke, Maine, to return him to his adoptive mother, Regina Mills, the local mayor, only to discover initially via Henry's claiming this and eventually finding out to be true that all the characters in this town of Storybrooke are actual storybook characters that we know from our stories, but that actually existed from another world that were brought here by an evil curse that Regina, the evil queen, cast on everybody because she's kind of a bitch.
And also, conveniently enough, non-fairy tale characters like Alice in Wonderland and this season adds Peter Pan.
Now, Peter Pan's next season.
Hook came from Peter Pan.
That's true. Hook's in this one. You are right. That's true.
I was talking about the worlds. Like, we didn't see Alice in Wonderland. Like, we didn't see Alice. We just saw Mad Hatter and stuff.
True. So, at the end of the last season, after learning the backstory of many of the characters, and after Emma Swan managed to vanquish the maleficent dragon beneath the library to get the true love potion to revive her son Henry, who had bitten the quote-unquote poisoned apple turned over from the queen that was meant for Emma. Regina tried to help her along the way, but not totally working. She manages to revive Henry with true love's kiss on the forehead, which breaks the curse, and while everybody is still in Storybrooke, they all regain their memories of being their true selves from the enchanted forest and other assorted.
Wait, true love's kiss that can break a curse can be between family members? Wait, but I thought Frozen was so groundbreaking when they did that shit.
They were. Wasn't that before this? I could be wrong.
I don't think it's before Once Upon a Time Season 1.
Oh, that's true. That would have been in Season 1, wasn't it? Yeah. You are right. Fair enough.
Which you can Google which year, how many years apart they were if you want. I know you want to. I can hear you Googling.
I can hear you Googling. The call's coming from inside the house.
Which I still love that other internet picture I saw earlier. Someone typed into Google, how do I get, and one of the top searches that people did is how do I Google something. Which they've posted underneath that screen cap a picture of them just face palming and collapsing into their computer, and underneath Professor Farnsworth of I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Nice.
Oh yeah, someone Googled how do I Google something.
But yes, you're right. Season 1 was before Frozen, so yeah, apparently Frozen was not that as groundbreaking as we thought. Sorry, Frozen.
We thought.
We're led to believe.
Yeah, I kept pointing out during the review of that available now on the X-Pound, that wasn't as original as people give it credit for. It was pretty shit with shit music, shit stories, shit characters.
Fair enough. So
They
at the end
are
of
improved in Once Upon a Time just to bring us back around.
Indeed. So at the end of season 1, Emma broke the curse, and everybody got their memories back, only for the town to turn on Regina, of course. However, over the course of events here, Jefferson, the Mad Hatter, trying to get revenge on Regina, revealed to Mr. Gold that his true love, Belle, because as is established in this show, Mr. Gold, Rumpelstiltskin, is actually the beast that Belle fell in love with. She called him a beast because of his demeanor and behavior, not because he was a physical beast per se.
And he was also green and scaly.
Well, that's what made him a crocodile. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, but I mean that was also why he was a beast, because everyone was calling him the Beast whenever or like her father was stuff when he showed up as well.
Fair enough.
Because he was like a monster, so it's like, oh, okay.
True. So, upon finding out that, after believing Belle to be dead, after finding out Regina had her locked in an asylum basement for 27 years, proceeds to, in true Mr. Gold fashion, get pissed off and immediately desire vengeance. And he proceeds to go to the magic wishing well. It's in the forest, it's been previously established, and use the true love potion that he stole from Regina and Emma to bring magic to the land of Storybrooke.
Yep, magic's back.
Magic is back. And this leads us into the beginning of season 2 as to how everyone's going to react to the magic being back.
Which season 2, like I touched upon last week, I didn't like it as much as season 1. Once they brought the magic back, ironically, I felt the magic of the show was now lost.
Ironic.
Because it was cool seeing all these realistic fairy tales in a realistic setting, and then seeing the fantasy back with what they were used to. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Then the second they break the curse, I'm like, okay, so they'll remember who they were, but at the end of season 1 when they broke the curse, I'm like, okay, they'll remember who they are, but they're not going to go back to just being those characters anymore. Cue season 2, and everyone now has their powers back and stuff. It's like,
Indeed. So as season 2 kicks off and the magic returns, at the time that we see Gold try to enact his vengeance on Regina and everybody trying to determine what to do about Regina and how the town kind of going into a panic trying to figure out what to do now because they've got their memories back, but as is established by the dwarves, as they attempt... Go ahead.
Just want to nitpick, like I said, magic has come. It has not returned.
That is true. Magic has come to Storybrooke. And as the
dwarf, it was never there in the first place.
Right, because magic doesn't belong in our world, as we'll soon see. So the dwarves determine that the barrier around the town that prevented them from leaving is still there, and if they step outside the barrier, they become their cursed selves permanently, forgetting who they actually are.
And I disagree with magic not belonging in our world. Please, people, we here at the X-Pan urge you to check out Siegfried and Roy. Thank you.
Ha! Nice.
They're wizards. David Blaine?
That's not magic.
Look at how much magic he can do by freezing himself. That's something I wish they'd done. You know when they broke the curse, Jim? And they gave magic back to Storybrooke and stuff?
Yes.
They should, since the town was now effectively there, even though they couldn't cross the lines, but other people could. I kind of wish they'd done an episode where, like, someone like, and as much as it'd be silly, but someone like Chris Angel or someone like that had just done a one-off guest spot thing just to see them freak the fuck out at the actual magic.
That would have been funny as shit. That would have been great. I would have loved that.
Now, it might go into the territory of, guest star of the week, but to be fair, it's always been guest star of the week because...
That's pretty much the entire show, yeah.
Yeah. I would like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anastasia Laserbeam has joined us.
Hey.
And we saw her forehead.
We did for long. No, we apologize for Anastasia Laserbeam's lateness. She was evidently on a date. Ooh.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, so yeah.
I can't imagine why.
I hate most people. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I mentioned it doesn't.
No, it really doesn't.
So I take it, judging from the fact that you just got back from the date and are now here for this wonderful review instead of still with him, that it apparently didn't go well and you did not invite him home.
Well, not on the first day. I'm not a fucking creeper, you know. I mean, I just met him and he seems nice, but you know, I'm not gonna like, you know, just be like, hey, you know, welcome to my house. Hope you're not a serial killer.
See, I assumed the date was at your house because like 1 hour ago you were watching Blu-rays and stuff.
Yes, and apparently even right now you're playing J-Stars on PS4.
I was playing J-Stars, but
Well, let's get back to Once Upon a Time. We'll talk about your personal life later. We're on the air here, folks. So, Once Upon a Time, like I was saying, magic has come to Storybrooke. And so as the town tries to figure out how to handle this revelation of their real selves, because they cannot leave the town, as determined by the dwarves, and they have no way to get home, because as Regina explained, home doesn't exist anymore. The Enchanted Forest was destroyed when the curse went through, as far as she knows, anyway. And or as far as she's telling them, anyway. And they kind of go into a panic, and so Snow White and the Prince, Mary Margaret and David, try to restore order to the town and try to keep everybody calm and come up with a plan as to what to do. While this is going on, we do see events going on in the Enchanted Forest, which is not actually destroyed, where we see Aurora being awakened by Prince Philip, only to see that the Enchanted Forest has been drastically damaged and harmed by the curse, and that most of it is uninhabitable and filled with vicious monsters, with only a small area near the shore of and part of an island is actually safe and currently inhabited by the people that survived that were left behind by the curse. We see Aurora being awakened by Prince Philip, whose traveling companion and warrior companion is Mulan from the famous story.
Which that's something I didn't quite get.
Mulan?
I understand not everyone would be this way. I honestly do get that. But logically, wouldn't somebody from their world want to stay in ours? Not just because Henry or something like that. Like, logically, someone from their world would have liked our world more.
You would think.
I'm not saying our world's better than theirs or vice versa, but it's like if one of us woke up in, like, say, Game of Thrones, some people would actually want to stick in that world. Some people would want to go back. I think they could have touched upon that a little bit more.
Yeah.
That is true. They very well could have. So we see this going on, and we determine that there was a survival there. And as this is going on through into episode 2, entitled "We Are Both," where David has to give a pretty cool speech to reminding everybody, "Hey, we are both ourselves from our world and from this world. We have to be both. That's who we are," which is kind of cool. We have a bit of a brief incident in which Regina, who we discover has Jefferson's magical hat, tries to use it to get back to the Enchanted Forest after they deduce that it is actually still there and she's lying to them. However, the hat has just barely enough magic to activate using the ring that formerly belonged to Regina's lost love, or that was given to her by her lost love, the stable boy, Daniel. And when the portal activates, unfortunately, Henry is in... not Henry, Emma is pulled into it, and Mary Margaret, Snow White, dives in after her, refusing to lose her daughter again, resulting in the two of them being transported back to what remains of the Enchanted Forest, where they are found by Mulan and Philip, and Aurora.
Yep.
And with no way to contact the other realm, we see the two of them adventure in an attempt to figure out a way to get back, along the way being taken to the sanctuary of the remaining survivors, led by the great Lancelot, who have been ousted from Camelot, and meeting a woman named Cora, who is in prison there.
And when you say the other realm, I assume the guy from Penn and Teller's there is Jarrell.
Yes.
Good.
He should be. And
another person they could have got to get stabbed.
So many. But yeah, so we see the group after being temporarily arrested and meeting a woman named Cora in the dungeon, who Snow White warns Emma is incredibly dangerous. They are freed by Lancelot when they find out he's in charge and he realizes who they are, and they are permitted with Mulan's accompaniment to go on a journey back to Snow White's castle to try to find the remains of the enchanted tree that was carved into the cupboard to see if there's any way they could power it back up to use it to get back to Storybrooke.
Which also, King Arthur, not a fairy tale, just saying.
Not really.
It's not 100% real either, but they did have stories and stuff based upon it that weren't fairy tales.
Yeah. So, we see the various events going on here, and as this is all going on, we also see in the past, we see things like more backstory about Snow White in a situation involving King George, how he tried to, get revenge on his quote-unquote son, the prince, for betraying him and refusing to marry King Midas's daughter, even though they weren't in love, so on and so forth.
Which,
and,
I will say, it might just be me, but does anyone else think some of the side characters have more interesting stories?
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Which we didn't touch upon it last time, and I think it's a shame we missed out, because it's A, problem, and B, something awesome. I liked Dreamy.
Dreamy was awesome.
Dreamy the dwarf who becomes grumpy, and I loved his storyline where he gets together with Fred from Angel.
I like the story where he gets together with Root for Person of Interest.
Angel was better. But that's where it becomes a problem. Where the fuck is she? He falls in love with her. He's gonna be with her. Yay! Happy ending. Next episode onwards, even when we see like the whole town and all the people, we never see her again.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So as all this is going on, we inevitably find out over the course of the series that Cora is actually Regina's mother, and that she is evil. Big shock. And we find out that she has we find out that she was actually disguised as Lancelot the whole time, running the place, while partnering with a Captain Killian Jones, better known as Captain Hook, as they attempted to find a way to get back to the other realm as well. Cora, because she would like to be reunited with her daughter, and Hook, because he had a run-in with Rumpelstiltskin years ago, in which Rumpelstiltskin murdered the love of his life, who happened to be Rumpelstiltskin's former wife, who left him for Hook, and then he cut his hand off, and Hook wishes to return the several favors.
Yep, which I will admit, which I don't know if you'd agree, Pew.
Mm?
How many of the main villains have parent issues?
All of them?
If I can make a point though, it's a Disney show. How many characters in Disney don't have parent issues?
I would also
screen disease.
I would also make the case, as they said with this, it's not Disney.
Hmm?
It's on ABC, but as they themselves have said, it doesn't say Disney's Once Upon a Time. It's just Once Upon a Time. It's on ABC, which is a Disney-owned channel, so they can go into the Disney well. However, it's not supposed to be just Disney.
Which is fair enough, but let's try to justify that when he shows up at the very end of season 3.
Like I said not just Disney.
Fair enough.
Because if you're going by that logic, Jim, shouldn't Peter Pan be a good little boy in green?
Valid point. Instead of evil little bastard in green.
Shouldn't Hook wear red and constantly be foiled by Jake and the Neverland Pirates?
Ha!
Who the fuck is Jake?
Leader of the Neverland Pirates.
It's a preschool kids TV show on the Disney Channel where there's Jake and these kids and they're in Neverland and they're fighting Hook or some shit. I don't know. Bless you.
Yeah. But I was just making that point because it seems at times like I'm not holding against the show because I do love the show, but every main villain we have has some sort of parent issues, with the exception of maybe Peter Pan from season 3, which has parent issues of being a parent, or else it would still count as parent issues.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
And it's like, oh no, because like Regina's mother's the reason she becomes evil. Mr. Goldfather's the reason he becomes evil. yeah, her parents, which we'll cover when we do that, so I'm not. That's why I'm deliberately not saying who they are or anything. Is the reason the witch from Wizard of Oz is the witch, and it keeps going through. It's like, really? Everyone is evil because parents? That's a cop out.
That's kind of a cop out. Just a little. Anywho, so as events continue, we see basically Cora jumps them when they get to the Passel Man, and they manage to, through events, open a portal back to Storybrooke by using a communication method where they find out that Aurora, who had been under the same sleeping drought as the one Henry put himself under to prove to his mother that magic was real, they find out that when they go to sleep, they can communicate in a weird burning room realm and pass information back and forth, which they use to manage to open a portal to get back to Storybrooke.
Yep.
And after David voluntarily puts himself under that so that Henry wouldn't have to suffer the pain of doing that again so he could get to Snow White and they could communicate that way as well.
You also missed off the massive story thing that was built up with the whole thing of the town hated Regina. Then Dave put himself in charge, or Prince Charming, whatever you call him, put himself in charge. But that was designed knowing he would, because his dad was now alive and was out to get him.
Yeah, his father, King George, had been brought to that realm, and he was the district attorney they established when they were. There was a storyline where before the curse broke, where Regina had Mary Margaret framed for a murder, and the murder of David's wife actually, and was trying to have her killed, and he showed up as the DA.
Yeah, and like I said, with that, while trying to turn the people against him, like he was trying to lead the, for lack of a better term, witch hunt against Ruby for turning, or Little Red Riding Hood for turning into the werewolf.
Indeed, which is a great story in and of itself.
It is. Like another side character that we're never going to touch about because he's not a main character, but I really liked, and people may know him from the Vampire Diaries, Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I was just gonna mention him. We see a little bit of the backstory on Regina, where Dr. Frankenstein was brought by Rumpelstiltskin to the Enchanted Forest in an attempt to revive Regina's dead true love, but he quote unquote failed, but performed the action with the intent that he would be able to get a heart, so that he could then use the power of that heart to resurrect his brother. And I can't remember why exactly Rumpelstiltskin did all that, but.
Rumpelstiltskin did all that because he was from a land with science that was meant to be more powerful than magic, and the two together, it was all leading to Rumpelstiltskin hopefully finding their way back to his son.
Right, that was his right, okay.
And it was also because the taking of the heart by Regina would turn her evil in the first place, which would be what he wanted.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't initially what turns her evil, but it's what just gives her that little nudge.
That's right. He pays Frankenstein in gold and the heart he needs for his brother, so that he'll pretend he couldn't revive Regina's true love, so that she'll get even more depressed and dark, and she'll be willing to cast his curse so he can get back to the world to find Malfire. Got it. Anyway, so we learn about Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who is Dr. Whale in the real world. He's the doctor at the hospital, and he has a pretty cool backstory. We see details there.
Which, like I said, I love that actor. Was a villain and almost redeemed himself on the Vampire Diaries. He was also a villain on Arrow. There's something about that dude that just makes him so hateable, or such a smug prick about his face and stuff. But he makes such a great villain that I like him.
He does. He is good. So, meanwhile, in the Enchanted Forest, the group manages to open a portal to come back to Storybrooke after they get the last beanstalk seed, allying themselves with Hook, who says, "Look, I don't really care if it's with Cora or with you, as long as I get to Storybrooke and I can get rid of Rumpelstiltskin, I'll work with anybody. I just want to get over there." And they climb a beanstalk. They find a giant played by Hurley from Lost, which is awesome. And basically, they try to steal the item they need from him to get back to Storybrooke, but he's mad because apparently, what's that?
A giant named Tiny, I believe.
A giant named Tiny, that is correct. His brothers called him Tiny because he was the smallest of the giants. And he was obsessed with the human world, and he brought the humans up, and the humans, specifically Prince Charming's asshole dead brother, And his, apparently, I don't know if it was a girlfriend, whoever it was, Jacqueline, aka Jack, climbed the beanstalk and basically betrayed the giants and killed them with poisoned swords and took all their shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised the beanstalk crop because the beans of the beanstalk are what can open portals between worlds. So they burned all that to make sure the humans didn't get it. But now Tiny's the last giant alive, and he's up there by himself, and he's kind of pissed at humans. But Emma manages to show him that not all humans are bad by sparing his life when she could have killed him with Jack's sword that she picked up. And after sparing his life, he's like, all right, you spare my life, I owe you a favor, and he lets her go with the items she needs, but she leaves Hook behind because she doesn't trust him. She chains him to a wall. And Hook
She
manages
didn't
to
even want to leave him. She felt like really bad about leaving him.
Yeah, but Hook manages to get back down later and is accosted by Cora, who's a little pissed that she betrayed him, but he basically turns back around and said, no, I'm on your side the whole time. And
It's also worth noting that's actually the start of something much bigger. Because Hook and Emma have like a relationship that resonates throughout multiple series. Of like Hook really kind of likes this woman.
Yeah, he's falling in love with her. So as he goes back with Cora and they manage to use the stuff and they open a portal and they go back to.
You can't do that. You can't just say, yeah, he's fallen in love with her and then continue narrating. It was an epic love.
We're gonna get there, and most of it happens when they get to the back to Storybrooke.
Yeah, but this was the start of it.
Yes, he starts having strong feelings for her and falling in love with her, and to the point that, he offers to risk his life to go up to the giant instead, but she doesn't trust him, so they go together and whatnot. And he tells her later that I wouldn't have left you there, and she's like, he's like, no, I wouldn't have. Which is kind of cool.
Yep.
So, they need magic to make this whole thing work, so they go to what was once a magic lake that we'd seen in some of the other flashbacks that had restored Prince Charming's wife that was supposed to be Midas's daughter, her love, who got turned into gold accidentally, and the water restores her. So they go to what was the lake, but it's all dried up, but they find just enough water in there to do what they need, but unfortunately Cora shows up and there's a fight and they manage to initiate the portal and get away just in time, but they have one dried up bean left and they're next to what was once a magic lake, and yeah.
Isn't the magic lake in question, I believe, wasn't it meant to be the lake from King Arthur's stories?
Yeah, supposedly the Lady of the Lake lived in the water, and when Prince Charming killed her years ago to get the water needed to free Midas's daughter's love, he killed her, and that's what caused the lake to dry up. And it was hinted that could be the lake from that realm. However, remember, there was a point made later when Rumpelstiltskin pulls the whole thing and tries to for Prince Charming, restore Snow White's confidence by having her pull the sword out of the stone, where he mentions, everybody knows the sword of the stone are in Camelot, which clearly says it means Camelot is not there, which means the lake should not be, that can't be the same lake. It must be a similar lake in the Camelot realm.
But the Camelot realm, it must also be the same realm, or where the fuck did Lancelot come from?
Valid point. Fair enough.
He said it's in Camelot, which this isn't, which just means it might be a slightly further off place. That was a big lake. It could have been across the lake or anywhere. We don't know.
It could have been, yeah. But so the really magic lake, and everybody gets back to Storybrooke. Emma and Snow White returning with Cora and Hook following in Hook's pirate ship, the Jolly Roger. As everyone arrives back in Storybrooke, and things start to get a little bit worse. When Cora arrives, she immediately starts manipulating people because she wants to get her daughter back on her side. And, we see Cora frame Regina for a murder. This time, as we see more flashbacks of establishing Snow and Charming's past. And we find out that how Belle got captured by the evil queen. Dr. Whale, we see more about Dr. Whale when he goes missing, and we learn the backstory of how he brought his brother back to life, but then he had to kill him again because he brought him back as a monster and it was hurting him.
We also find out he's Neil.
Okay then.
You mentioned Bellfire. We found out he's Neil.
That too.
Because you mentioned in the last review you were going to mention it in this one because he was the guy who got the note at the end, and when I mentioned it then you go, yeah, whatever.
Sorry, so we also find out in the course season that the backstory being that the backstory is that Emma and Neil fell in love at a very young age, right around 18, and that they were basically neither of them had anything. They were both orphans for obvious reasons, and so they basically paired up. They stole a yellow VW book that is definitely not Herbie.
Technically, she's not an orphan.
Well, yeah, but as far as she knew, she was.
Yeah, as far as she knew, she was an orphan.
And the two of them basically go around stealing shit and being Bonnie and Clyde like thieves, and fall in love. And unfortunately, when they go back to one of Neil's biggest scores, which was he stole a lot of really expensive Rolex watches, and he hid them in a bus station locker. When they go to get them back, before Bellfire can go and meet Emma for this, he's accosted by August, a.k.a. grown-up Pinocchio, who basically convinces him to listen by opening his little thing on the back of his motorcycle with a typewriter in it that says, "I know your Bellfire." Basically tells him, look, she's the daughter of Snow White and the Prince. She's got to break the curse and free everybody. If you keep leading her down this life of crime and everything else, she's never going to get there to do it, and everybody's going to be fucked. So I don't want to be an asshole, but you need to not show up and leave her alone. Let her get caught by the cops and go to prison, and it'll give her a lesson in doing the right thing, which will set her on a right road to have a better life, which will lead her to Storybrooke on her 27th birthday. All of which proceeds and happens. And we find out some backstory about how Balefire, when Balefire was with his father and he managed to get a magic bean, and they were going to leave together to a world without magic to hopefully make Rumpelstiltskin not a crazy evil asshole. But Rumpelstiltskin was also a coward and wouldn't go with him, and so he lost Balefire, and that's why he spent his life trying to get back. The rest of his life since then, the intervening several hundred years trying to get him back.
Although it is also worth noting, Pinocchio was also wrong. Because he said you never should have been with her, and you being with her is going to stop her breaking the curse. You never should be with her. The reason she breaks the curse is because he knocked her up. She has Henry, and Henry goes and gets her. So from a certain point of view, he was also wrong.
Yes, that was the other point where we find out that Neil is alive after Rumpelstiltskin, who has determined that he can, using the cloak that belonged to him back in the other realm, by casting a charm on it, as long as that item is touching him, and he can leave the town and retain his memories.
Because anyone who crosses the town line, thanks to the new curse, loses their memories.
Right, as established by the dwarves when they send Sneezy over there, and he immediately thinks that he's the dude that owns the pharmacy again. Poor Sneezy. At the same time, regarding the border, we find out that Belle's father has also been brought over, and then he runs a flower shop. And when he finds out that Belle is alive and is still with the Dark One, quote-unquote, being held captive as far as he knows, he doesn't know that they're in love and that he's okay now, sort of. And he kidnaps her back and attempts to send her under the town line in the mines that they've been digging, because the mines contain diamonds, and diamonds can be used to make pixie dust, which can be used, or fairy dust rather, which can be used to power magic to hopefully help them find a way back home. And he tries to send her in the mine underneath the town line to erase her memory, but there's intervening, and they manage to stop that. And Belle tells Rumple and her father to both fuck off, because clearly neither of them is in their right mind right now. They're both acting crazy in regards to her, and to just leave her the hell alone for now. And she is then, via some strings pulled by Rumpelstiltskin, as she's sitting in the diner owned by Ruby and Granny with nothing to do, she's given the key to the library, which is kind of just available now since the dragon in the basement got killed. So she takes up a role as the new librarian of Storybrooke, since Belle loves books, as has always been established with her character in various properties.
Including, which I'm surprised you didn't mention, this one where she actually constantly kept reading books and even managed to figure out how to track something, which is how she knew Mulan. Yeah,
she actually loved books enough and got to Rumpelstiltskin enough that he actually created a library for her to clean and particularly to enjoy the books in, and basically to keep it clean. And so she learned to read and love all the books. And one of the books that she had read was a book about tracking the what was it, the Chimera monster, I think.
I think so.
Something like that. And she meets Mulan, who has been hunting this thing down to try to kill it because it's been threatening her people in the village that she lives in and killing people. And Belle tracked it down in like a day, whereas Mulan had tracked it for weeks, if not months, and hadn't found it. So they team up to work together to find it. But before Mulan can kill it, Belle realizes that, wait, there's something different about this, and she uses some magic she'd gotten hold of. I think it was magic water or something, to throw, or magic dust, whatever. And I think it was fairy dust, and she throws it on him, and it turns him back into a human. And it turns out he was a cursed prince of the land who had been turned into this monster.
Which was a great story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree or not, Pew, but I felt they also fucked up that story at the same point.
Yeah.
Because Mulan, as established in most things, is actually really intelligent as well as being a great warrior. Come on, you're telling me that Mulan, the person who has read really well in various stuff and is really intelligent, wouldn't have thought to track it based on how all the stuff that's written about it does it? She's like, nah, I'll just use my instinct. That's really plot conceived, but then again, that would be the Disney aspects of this show.
Yes.
Pretty much. So all of that goes down, and we see more about Regina's attempt. Regina initially, once she figures out how to control her magic again, tries to forcibly take Henry back, only to realize that this isn't going to work. I can't force Henry to be with me, or he's not going to love me, and there's no point. So Regina decides she's going to at least attempt to not use magic and to try to be the kind of person that Henry wants her to be, which is kind of a big step for her, even though absolutely nobody in town except Emma actually believes it. And even Emma has her doubts.
I believe, technically, didn't Jiminy Cricket also believe at a certain point, like he was still trying to give her advice and help her? He had his skepticism, but he also believed it mainly because he's a conscience. He sort of knows, okay, maybe I should help her in case.
Yeah, and Regina had actually, as one step toward trying to do this, started attending regular sessions with Dr. Hopper, aka Jiminy Cricket, at his office, to try to help overcome some of what she heard, some of the hurt of her past that led her to feel so alone and dark and evil, and to try to come around to be more of that better person that Henry saw within her. So that was kind of cool.
Which, like we said, season 2 added a lot of. Season 2 added some stuff I didn't like, but it also had a lot of people I did like. Like, I think you like him as well, Pew. I really like Hook.
Hook's awesome.
Yes, I love Hook.
It's like when they started to do the will they, won't they, like sort of ship tease with Hook and Emma, and then they introduced Neil. I'll be honest, I was always for Hook.
Mm-hmm.
I also do like the hashtag Swan Queen.
Nice.
That is an awesome ship as well, but that I've come to realize that one's never going to happen. Hook and Emma's cool as a couple as well.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, and in the primary storyline, they find Neil Bellfire again after Rumpelstiltskin again uses this thing to let him leave town, and he, in repayment for the deal he made with Emma to save Cinderella's baby back in season 1, asks her and Henry to come with him, since Emma and Henry are the only two besides him with the enchantment that can leave Storybrooke, and they go to New York City where they end up finding him, and they bring him back to Storybrooke with them, so that he can know his son a little bit, even though he still wants nothing to do with what he considers to be his deadbeat father, who's still a coward and can't live without magic. And we also see in the past how Cora, Regina's mother, met Rumpelstiltskin, and how he also trained her in magic the same way he did with Regina, and that they kind of had somewhat of a romantic relationship at one point. And we established that Cora herself is actually the Queen of Hearts from Wonderland, where
yes and no.
Well, she's a Queen of Hearts from Wonderland.
Yeah, I was going to say she's a Queen of Hearts, but not the Queen of Hearts.
Because as established, there's a scene where Rumpelstiltskin, in an attempt to help Regina come out more on her own and be the evil that he knows she can be to cast his curse, he provides her with an enchanted mirror, just through the looking glass, and he manages to convince Regina to push her mother through the mirror to get rid of her mother, and the mirror sends her mother to Wonderland, where she proceeds to somehow become the Queen of Hearts, given that one of her primarily magical talents was to steal people's hearts and use them to control people and do evil shit with them.
Which is also worth noting, is kind of weird.
A little bit.
Because when Alice goes through the Looking Glass, Through the Looking Glass, she's actually in a different place to Wonderland.
Oh.
And the world works a little differently. It has like new characters. It's not the same ones that she meets, and the world's all different and stuff. And yeah, logically, the mirror should have taken her somewhere else.
Logically.
But oh well.
So as that all goes down and we understand exactly the detail there, and we learn Cora's backstory as well. Learning to understand that the reason she seeks power for her daughter is because she knew what it was like to be literally the miller's daughter. The reason Regina had chosen the name Miller is because their ancestry was as literal millers. They milled flour and other such wheat crops and sold them to people in the kingdoms, even to the local king. And the royalty who treated Cora like shit when she was a young woman for being a peasant woman. And Cora absolutely despised being treated that way and vowed that she would become, at their level and she would get revenge, which is why when Rumpelstiltskin appeared, she agreed to be trained by him and to work for him. And he taught her how to steal hearts and use magic. And she basically brought herself to the level of becoming royalty in that kingdom and married Regina's father, who was like the prince, I guess, or a duke or something.
Yeah, which it's also worth noting, with Cora, she seemed to not hate being treated that way and hated how they treated her. More of it, at least the way they do it in this series and later ones too. It seems more like she was just jealous of the power. Because I think you've seen that one, Pew, where they do young Cora.
Yes.
She's just a power-hungry bitch, basically.
Yes.
She's not redeemable in the same way. Like there's other characters in the show that have been treated similar ways, and they become good people. Hers seems to be more the resentment of the power, not of the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's that, but I think it's a little bit situation only because we had that pivotal scene where they're walking through and like she bumps into like some princess or something and like the drink gets spilled on her and she gets all really pissed off and like demands she get on her knees and apologize and shit, and that pisses Cora off. That was one of those pivotal scenes where that happens, like the king demands that she apologizes and shit, and she's treated like crap by this royalty for how dare she spill a drink on the princess or whatever the hell happened. So I think it was also a bit of...
It does, which I would also point out, that scene would show more of the power thing, because doing it so you make someone get on their knees to apologize is a display of power, and Cora wants the power.
Fair enough. So she marries Regina's father, who is like a duke or something over there. He's not the prince, but I think he's a duke. Something like that. Something like that. So she marries him in order to gain power, which works out, but they're still not on a throne, which is why later on when Regina grows up, she manipulates events to cause Regina to be made the queen after the legitimate queen dies, or, as we find out, is killed by Cora.
Yep.
Because, again, Cora's fucking evil.
Which is also weird because... Oh, crap. Which season is it, Pew, where they show Cora kill that queen?
Which queen?
So the one that's essentially Snow White's mother.
Oh,
it's this season. Everything with Cora happened in season 2. Yeah.
Not everything, because like we mentioned, the flashback of her being young, which is what I was going to touch upon, where you actually see her interacting with Cinderella's mother. For some reason, in that episode,
Snow White's mother.
Yeah, Snow White's mother becomes a complete bitch.
Yeah, I noticed that. She was kind of a bitch.
So it must be one you've seen. I wasn't sure if it was 4.
That's definitely... It's either 2 or 3. I have seen that flashback.
3.
It's 3, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was one of the retcons they did, but...
Yeah, we'll get there. So, other things that happened over the course of season 2, we also see Neil inviting his fiancée, Tamara, to Storybrooke, only for us to have a flashback to realize that she has previously met August, a.k.a. Pinocchio, when they both went to some old Japanese dragon dude who apparently had magic because August was turning back into wood. And Tamara was claiming she had a incurable cancer, which turned out to be a load of bullshit. And at the same time, we have an event occur where Right as Rumpelstiltskin is testing his charm before they left, he was testing his charm at the border and had brought Belle with him for the purpose of having someone there that could keep an eye on him. And as he tested, he came back and he recognized her. But as this occurred, Hook showed up and tried to shoot Rumpelstiltskin. And as he tried to shoot Rumpelstiltskin, Belle jumped in the way and got knocked across the barrier.
Got shot.
Yeah, Belle got shot and knocked across the barrier, and as that happened, she fell on the road, and a dude driving a car almost hit her and swerved out of the way and ran Hook down instead. And as we find out that Belle lost her memory and was left in the hospital to heal up, which she did, but then Regina, again being Regina, and at this point under Cora's influence, basically gives her a little a matchbook from the local skeezy bar, which brings back her memories of her cursed self, Lacey, who is a barfly and kind of a a gum chewing badass chick that hangs out at the bar and shoots pool and drinks and curses and every damn thing else.
Which doesn't make sense.
Well, given that Regina particularly did not like her, maybe it was one of those I hate you, so I'm going to make you the exact opposite of everything you actually are.
Yes, but until the curse broke, they were on a loop. She was in the asylum the whole time.
Yes.
Which means they changed her backstory to now, oh no, she was a barfly. It's like,
no.
What?
That makes sense. Actually, it does make sense because what they said was she was locked in the asylum for 27 years. However, that doesn't mean that Regina, in order for the curse to be in, didn't give her a personality that matched that world. It wasn't Belle locked in the asylum. It was probably Lacey locked in the asylum. Regina gave her an identity, just never gave her a chance to live that identity because she was in the damn asylum. But that's the identity Belle would have had if she had not been locked in the asylum, is I think the deal.
Yeah, but I mean, with how long she was in there, logically, with the fact the nurses had mentioned she'd been in there for years and stuff like that's how the nurses remember it. She wouldn't have been old enough to work in a bar with alcohol. Which means that life is completely ass fucking forced and retconned into the story.
No, because like I said, remember, nobody in the town ages, but the people in the town, while they were under the curse, didn't know that nobody was aging. They thought it was the same all the time. So as far as they knew she'd been in there for a long time and didn't know exactly who she was. But the fact of the matter is, her age would not have been immediately obvious to them because they weren't noticing that time was passing. Time was being frozen around them, so they didn't notice that time didn't pass and didn't exist. As far as they were concerned, she had been thrown in there at that age of however old Emile the Raven is, somewhere in her early 20s, I think. Early to mid-20s, or at least it's what she's supposed to be. They would have not have noted that would have been her age as far as she was concerned when she was thrown in there. As far as she was concerned, she'd been in there for a long time, but because to them it didn't make sense that time passed, they didn't understand time, she wouldn't have aged. So as far as they're concerned, she was always just that age. That's how old she was.
Yeah, but like they said, it wasn't that time stood still and they still kept doing it. Things kept happening, at least that's how they explained it in Season 1 and stuff, constantly on a loop. Like Henry mentioned, people keep doing the same stuff day in and day out because time keeps getting reset, essentially speaking. And then they retconned it in with this, which it is a retcon.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Well,
I feel like it's just that's the person she would have been on the loop had she not been in the asylum. I think she was Lacey. She had that personality, just never got a chance to go out and actually be what Lacey would have been because she was in the asylum. I think Regina still had to give her an identity on the other side to make sure she didn't remember who she was. So I think she would have been Lacey. I think it's just how it was.
But two things. One, what were you saying, Pew?
I said you're technically right with the whole repeating stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They kept saying it was repeating and stuff, and then the nurses said she'd been in there for years, which they didn't know time didn't slow down and stuff, because that would have made them really fucking suspicious when they had books and TV and other stuff that was just on a loop. It would have made them really suspicious if they never aged. It just kept being on a loop. So she'd been in there for years. Like you said, she's meant to be like maybe early to mid-20s. If she'd been in there for years, she wouldn't have been old enough to work in a bar, which means even though that may be her personality, Jim, like you mentioned, how she touched and gets her memories of working there. How would she have memories of working there if she wasn't old enough to work there if they put her in the asylum? Thus, retcon. Or plot hole.
Now, it's not a retcon if you use the actually established parameters of the curse from season 1. The established parameters of the curse were that everybody that was in the town were on a loop, and they all believed they all were given a full set of memories of their entire lives in the real world up until the point that they were living that loop. That was established. Except for Regina and Gold, who remembered who the hell they were. Everybody believed that they had been born as their, Snow White believed she had been born Mary Margaret, raised as Mary Margaret, had parents as Mary Margaret, so on and so forth. They were all led to believe that they had full backstories. Lacey would be the same. Lacey would.
I agreed with that, Jim. I completely agreed with that. But
no, like you didn't, obviously.
Yes, I did, because I mentioned to you it's memories of up until the day of the curse when I kept being on a loop. Yes, but if the nurse, who's also on a loop, says she's been in there for years, her backstory must be that she was in there for years, unless you're saying the nurse also remembers and is some sort of all-powerful being that we didn't know about.
That's a good point.
I'm just going by the basis of what actually happened in the show, Jim.
Mm-hmm. I'm going on the basis of how the magic was established to work in the show.
Okay, then explain the nurse. Saying she's been in there for years. If she kept resetting on her days, and her memories say she was put in there years ago, and like you said, early 20s, so a couple of years, she wouldn't have been old enough to work in a bar. You have to be 21.
Well, for one thing, I don't think she was working in the bar. I'm relatively sure she was just hanging out in the bar. But anyway.
Yeah, and drinking and stuff like that. And when she touched the magic, she got her memories of being in there, which, like I said, plot hole. Or retcon.
Like I said, I thought the nurse said that after the curse broke, but fair enough. But anyway, so regardless, fact of the matter is she's given an identity as Lacey, who is a barfly. And so Rumpelstiltskin, who had been attempting to meet Belle's expectations of him, of being the nice guy, of being, the person within, the person underneath the Dark One, and attempting to be this person for Belle, tries to win Lacey back with this personality, but Lacey doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want this nicey nice asshole, this nicey nice guy, fucking guy. So it's not until a little later on when Lacey starts going out with this other dude that she meets at the bar. I don't remember who the other dude was. Who was the other dude, Mo?
I can't remember who the other dude is, but yeah, like I said, yeah, like we've mentioned in the past, it becomes convoluted the more they add to it, which is a downside to the show, but it's still cool.
Yeah, so she's
like the other thing with that whole thing of, if you noticed with what's his name, with Sneezy, he went instantly back to who he was on the day of the curse. Shouldn't she have gone back to being insane?
Well, the thing is, she was locked in the asylum. It was never established that she was actually insane, just that she was locked in there. Regina could have manipulated the curse. Everybody thought she was insane, but that she actually wasn't. We don't know.
Which would make her insane. Because if we all remember what they were doing constantly on the loop, now she'd remember constantly being isolated and locked in an asylum against her will, which if that happened to someone, they'd be insane. That
would give them a psychological problem, yes.
Yeah, and she has none. I'm like, what the fuck?
The term insane is debatable, but yes, something like that. But as events proceed, she eventually, Rumpelstiltskin gets tired of this shit and starts beating the shit out of this dude in the back alley behind the bar with his cane and just beating this guy mercilessly. And when Lacey walks out and sees this, that starts turning her on, and she's like, and they did this cool thing with a parallel line where they had shown how Belle managed to get him and fall in love with him in the other world where she was Belle, and how, she says, I don't believe you're truly as dark as they say you are, Rumpelstiltskin. No, dear, I'm darker. Much darker. And as the parallel line, when he's beating the shit at this dude, Lacey's getting turned on by this, and she's like, you really are as dark as they say they are. No, dear. Darker. Much darker. And kind of turned around, which I thought was an awesome parallel. And so Lacey gets back together with Mr. Gold, as she knows him, after she realizes that he's kind of, he's got that temper streak and that bad streak, and he's evil, the evil streak and whatnot. And as events in the town proceed, and they leave the town, they come back, so on and so forth, all this stuff goes on. Basically, Cora begins to initiate an evil plan where she's going to basically take over the town with Regina. And And at the same time, we see that Tamara and the gentleman who ran over Hook with his car are well, both in the town, and they seem to be acting a little suspicious. Particularly the guy who ran over Hook with his car, who is in the hospital for some injuries he sustained in the crash as well, has spotted some people using magic and has started like trying to take video of it and like send it to somebody on his phone. And he started having suspicions about things that are going on, as exactly what the deal is with that. And at the same time, Hook and Cora are generally being evil, and so on and so forth. And Cora's inevitable goal is to kill Rumpelstiltskin and make herself the Dark One.
It's not just a random dude, though. Like
It's not, but we don't know that he's not a random dude until next season.
Yeah.
There's more to that dude, but we'll get
actually till the season final. Because his conversation as he's sending it, and even during the conversation when he's sending it, it's as you believed it was.
Yeah. So we know he's working for somebody, we just don't know who.
Yeah.
So with Hook's help, Regina tries to have a plan that will get her and Henry back to the Enchanted Forest, while everybody gets more suspicious about Tamara and Emma specifically. And meanwhile, in the former Enchanted Forest, we see an event where Rumpelstiltskin turned Regina into a peasant to try to kill Snow White, but Snow White helped her and saved her. And initially, Snow White had said that she would forgive the Queen, for what had happened, given the opportunity, if the Queen would forgive her for telling her mother about the plan. And but it falls apart, and inevitably it turns out that no, that's not going to work. And as we get to a point where Hook manages to attack the group while they're in New York fetching Balefire, and Rumpelstiltskin gets stabbed in the gut with the hook. And basically, they manage to knock Hook out and lock him in a closet, and they get on his ship and sail back to Storybrooke by water, and they get Rumpelstiltskin in his shop to try to heal him, but he's dying, and the dagger is erasing. And if he dies without anybody quote-unquote killing him, the Dark One's powers will just be lost forever, which Cora doesn't want. So Cora and Hook, who managed to get back to Hook doesn't come back till next season, but Cora and Regina break into Rumpelstiltskin's shop to try to kill him, but they try to fight him off. Mary Margaret, in a battle of conscience, tricks Regina into taking Cora's heart, which she has performed a charm on, and putting it back into Cora, under the premise that if Cora has her heart back, she'll remember how much she loves you, and she won't be this kind of evil woman you've known most of her life, because she ripped her heart out years and years ago, and that's why she's kind of evil. And but it's a trick, because she uses something that Cora tried to get her to use on her own mother years ago to save her life by lighting this magic candle and draining the life out of one person to save another. And she conducts the enchantment on Cora's heart, so that when the heart is put back into Cora, the life is drained out of her to save Rumpelstiltskin. Which works, and Cora dies in Regina's arms, only leading Regina to realize, wow, Mary Margaret, you actually just killed my mother. I hate you even more now. And but it makes her feel a little better when she finds out that a little later on that Mary Margaret's heart turned a little bit black from that, and she gets so much glee out of that. But as everything goes on, Regina disappears, and they try to find her, along with some magic beans. One other thing that happened is Tiny the Giant was brought over on the Jolly Roger, and they managed to free him, and with the final beam given to him by his father saying, you will find a new land to plant our beans, he starts up a bean crop in Storybrooke so that they could use the beans to get everybody back to the Enchanted Forest and get everybody home. But unfortunately, after Cora is killed, Henry is kidnapped by supposedly random dude that ran Hook down with a car, and Neil's supposed fiance who were actually in cahoots. She'd been manipulating Neil the whole time. He came back here because we see in a flashback. Was that in this season that they had that flashback when his episode, or was that later? I lost track. Oh, yes. And we see in a flashback that guy actually was here when Storybrooke first came into existence 27 years ago. He was camping in the woods with his dad when this town fucking appeared out of nowhere. And when they went there, Regina tried to convince the father and the son to stay so she could have him as her son. but the son managed to get away, but his father was left behind, and he's determined to basically find out from Regina where his father is, no matter what he has to do.
The father
And
got left behind. He got straight up murdered.
Well, he didn't know he was murdered. He thought he was still alive. It wasn't until Regina told him, "I killed him and buried him at your campsite," that she finds out that he's dead. And they find out that Regina was missing because these two kidnapped Regina and tortured her for information, trying to find out about his father, like electrocuting her and shit. It didn't work until she tells him he's at the campsite. I killed him. And they managed to get away from the fish factory. They kidnap Henry, and using a bean that they stole after finding the bean crop and torching it, or I think Regina did actually, they take the bean and they open a portal where they jump through with Henry, taking him to what they determine must be Neverland. And so, they realize that some of the beans could be used in order to get there. And so, wait, hang on. And we also find out some of Balefire's backstory, that when he first came to the world, he ended up in London, where he met the Darling family, was taken in by Wendy and her brothers, and that's how he first knew about Neverland, and ended up going to Neverland. And we find out about that detail. I actually jumped ahead a little bit. So they find out that Regina's disappeared. They know Tamara has something to do with it, and they put into action a plan to destroy Storybrooke. And Emma, Regina, Mary Margaret, David, Henry, and Hook have to try to stop them. And meanwhile, in the past, we find out how Hook met Bellfire back in Neverland years ago.
And I said the whole thing with the Wendy, with the Darlings and stuff, isn't that next season?
Yes.
No. Second start to the right, the second to last episode of the season. In the past, young Bellfire finds himself back in 19th century London and is taken in by the Darling family, befriending their daughter Wendy. That's in the second to last episode of season 2.
Wait, have you been doing this whole thing just by reading Wikipedia?
No, I've been remembering most of it. I'm just using that to remember the order events happened in, to some extent. And yeah, so I jumped ahead a little bit into the beginning of season 3, and that was my apology. But Greg and Timber plan to destroy Storybrooke and stop the magic because they supposedly work with somebody who doesn't think magic belongs in that world. And in the past, we find out how Hook met Bellfire when Bellfire was taken by Pan's shadow that kidnapped him, but he managed to break free and ended up on Hook's ship, and he and Hook had a thing going on there for a while, and we find out about that. And that is about where the season ends, as Greg and Tamara plan to destroy the magic, and we end our season.
Yeah, I said, was that this season?
The Neverland thing was season 3.
Yeah, I thought the part where we actually see him with the Darlings and all that, and the shadow and going to Neverland, I thought that was season 3, because that's after the reveal of plot twist, the shadow's evil and Peter Pan is.
No. Because in the end of season 2, we find out that Regina's disappeared. We find out that he once knew the Darlings many years ago, and we find out that Regina and the beans went missing. Regina torched the bean crop and took some of the beans with her, and Emma still believes Tamara had something to do with Regina's disappearance, even though Neil doesn't want to hear about it. And meanwhile, in the past, we see a flashback of Bellfire meeting the Darlings, and Greg and Tamara finally plan to destroy Storybrooke, and we leave it at them with their plan to destroy Storybrooke, and we see the flashback of Hook meeting Bellfire on the ship. Those two things happen, but the stuff I mentioned about where they actually go to Neverland and everything like that, where they kidnap Henry, that's all season 3. I jumped ahead a little bit.
Yeah, you also mentioned the shadow, I thought.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did, which I'm like, we don't see the shadow till season 3.
Yes, we do, because in the second to last episode, Bellfire's in London with the Darlings. In the next one, he's on Hook's ship, and we see him kidnapped in the one and taken from the Darlings because he wanted to save the Darlings, and we see him being taken to Neverland by the Shadow, and he manages to fight free from the Shadow and lands in the water where Hook's ship picks him up. We don't know the Shadow is necessarily... We know the Shadow is evil because in the episode where he meets the Darlings, they say there's this legend of this evil Shadow that kidnaps kids from their houses and takes them away. We've seen him around. We've been trying to hide from him. He's trying to get in here. And that's why we know the Shadow is evil from the word go.
See, I like me and Peter, I thought we didn't see the Shadow till season 3. I thought we saw him with the Darlings. I thought we saw him on Hook's ship, but they explained the other bits in season 3. I thought.
I thought that was all season 3, but if you
Yeah.
look at Wikipedia, I don't know, but like it felt like season 3 to me.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's a reason Wikipedia is also, not allowed in most colleges and schools.
Yeah, they attempt to defend themselves, but the shadow proves too powerful and is about to capture Wendy's
He's literally reading Wikipedia, even though we just said, like we just said, yeah, there's a reason Wikipedia is not a valid source in schools and colleges.
There's also a reason there's people that simply work for Wikipedia that ensure accuracy on some pages. Anyway, as I was saying, like I said, these are the episodes as listed, as produced. These are the episodes. If you don't believe me, I'll switch over to IMDb. Anyway.
IMDb.
That's totally more legitimate.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, the second to last episode, it's called Second Star to the Right, and in the background we see him get with the Darlings. We see that he tries to kidnap one of the brothers, but Bay fights him off and offers himself in Michael's place. And he's confident that saving them from the magic is what the right thing to do.
Reading Wikipedia at this point.
Is the right thing to do. He thanks Wendy for her kindness and is carried away. And they go to Neverland, but he distracts the shadow with a match and lands in the water where Hook's ship picks him up. And the next one we see his relationship with Hook, and that he knows Hook. That's where we end it. We established that he knew the Darlings. Shadow took him to Neverland. He fought off the match, ended up on Hook's ship. That's the end of season 2.
And if anyone listening, based on the fact even though I kept saying, are you still reading Wikipedia at this point, don't bother watching the next ones. Just go to wikipedia.com. You'll get the same info.
Excuse me for giving a shit about accuracy. Anyway.
On a site that's discredited by most valid sources like colleges and universities and stuff. Cool.
It just, each story and season has feelings that cannot necessarily be translated into
and it's also the literal reading of it word for word, which I'm like, it's supposed to be a review, not whatever we see online we just talk about.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's the only way for me to get you to listen when I tell you the accurate information that we learned about that at the end of season 2. Since you refuse to believe me when I outright told you this is what happens at the end of season 2.
And then you read it on Wikipedia, which both me and Pew just said we thought that was the next season and maybe they're wrong, to which you clearly make out Wikipedia is the most valid source on Earth.
I'd say it's the most valid source on Earth, but when it comes to stuff like TV shows, they have people they specifically employ to ensure those articles are accurate and any inaccurate changes are undone.
And also, when you watch like a series, they can like hint stuff, and like when you watch something, you might miss things. They might imply things. It's not like when you watch stuff, it's not like straight up black and white. Yeah, like
thank you
stuff, but they don't like blatantly say like you're not reading a book. You watch it.
Well,
and
obviously.
You interpret it as you will because you're watching it. So let's just keep it at that.
Yeah.
I said, it's one continuous story. It kind of has an interestingly abrupt cutoff where they start it at the end of season 2 and then go into 3. So, and it's kind of weird how that goes down. But overall, season 2, not as good as season 1, but I like it. I think it does what it needs to do. And it expands on the story. It shows how everybody reacts to having their memories back. We learn backstory of some more characters. We learn what happened to their world. And, we have some great villains, and Cora thus far in the entire show, Cora is my favorite villain. Not discounting anything involving Regina, because Regina's a great villain, but Regina also has that sympathy that makes you want to root for her, which makes it hard for me to consider her a villain. Cora's just outright a villain.
Yeah.
See, my favorite villain is still Regina and Mr. Gold, because I think what makes a good villain is there's something there that you can at least understand their methods. Like, for example, Magneto on X-Men, you totally understand why he hates humans. But then when it comes to, I don't know, like, fucking most Disney villains are just like, I'm evil because evil.
I like my villains more complex and understandable. Yeah. So I would say, I'd say Regina's still my favorite villain.
Yeah, Regina and Rumpelstiltskin are mine.
She already has, they both have their own, like, light and dark side and their own, like, both their own worst enemy,
Yep.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, final ratings. You want to give it a number, or in your case, more a buy, rent, avoid?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'll be probably giving all of the season at least buy it. Even if it's bad, you still need to see all of it. because I'm of a belief of a TV show you kind of have to, and it's like it's this season it's not as good as the first one, but it's still watchable. It's still good, despite, like I said, the retcons and plot holes that they create each season.
I'd say season 2 isn't as good as the first one, but it does establish more interesting stories and characters and stuff. And while they do have plot holes and stuff sometimes, like on some occasions I'm willing to look past it just because I like those characters and I want to see like live action versions of them, using this as an excuse to do so. So in that whole aspect, because sometimes like I just like turn my brain off because I know like it's like doesn't belong, but in more retcons or whatever. But like, you know, for right now, I'm just gonna enjoy this character being there because like that's something I want to see, and this is the only show that does it right now. So, okay. Sometimes I feel like you gotta do that a little bit to like really enjoy it, which is unfortunate. But like, yeah, what are you gonna do? It's still really good though. Not as good as the first one, but you know, it's still good.
I don't know.
See, I admit I always find that hard with shows of the whole idea of you just need to turn your brain off and ignore plot holes and continuity issues. 'Cause I'm like, well, stuff like that always leads to like filler in anime.
Well, like I said,
And I'm like, there's a reason people are like, let's stick to the manga.
Yeah, like I said, you could do that for like the moment, like, but not like overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, even with the retcons and plot holes, I still enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's still enjoyable.
I just always cringe whenever I get the plot holes and stuff. I'm like, ah.
Which was understandable. Just to confirm, I realized looking, I switched over to ABC.com, and it looks like I was right about the Regina being tortured thing happening in season 2. They did torture her in season 2 to get the information about the campsite, and after that they find the campsite, and that's when they say, well, we know what Regina's Black Diamond was. What Regina's Black Diamond is, and we could use it for our evil plan to destroy Storybrooke. And that was where they kind of came to the end. So the Regina torture thing did happen. I was right about that.
We didn't
Say
argue
you
about the
were.
Regina torture thing.
Okay.
No, I was just confirming because I wasn't sure. So I know I had sounded like I was doubting it, so I wanted to confirm that I was right about that to the audience.
Yeah, the one we were doubting was the other thing.
Anyway,
Yeah. In London, Balefire is happy to see Wendy return in the morning. The reason it's called Neverland is because once you set foot on it, the Shadow never lets you leave. But the Shadow didn't want her; it wanted a boy. So, yeah, that did happen at the end of season 2. It's mentioned in there. But at any rate,
It's mentioned, but it doesn't say you actually see the Shadow grab him and drop him in the ocean. Because we were saying for season 2, it felt like, at least to us, it felt like they deliberately hid the Shadow and kept it ominous, and then revealed it in season 3 after they'd cast Pan and decided what they were doing with it.
like it was hidden and it wasn't blatantly obvious.
Yeah, that was the point I was saying. But
I think it was blatantly obvious. I'm just saying the Shadow did take him and he did land in the water. Because it says that right here. It says that he agreed to go willingly if it left the Darlings alone, and the Shadow agreed, so he took him by the hand, yanked him to Neverland, he lit a match on it out of his pocket. It startles him, it startles the Shadow, drops him in the water, Hook picks him up.
a live reading, people, instead of a review.
Yeah, I was like, please stop now.
Well, again, I wouldn't need to do that if you two would just listen to me when I tell you accurate information that I know to be true. Anyway, I even went to the direct source, so you would believe me. Anyway.
I'll be honest, like probably the people watching this, I tune out the second you just start reading shit online.
Honestly, like, you gotta stop it. But it's fine, whatever. Just...
I said I wasn't reading anything online. We were having a great discussion until you two got all uppity about what I know to be the accurate information that happened in those episodes. Anyway.
The stuff you know happened in those episodes, which you even said, I've got Wikipedia up, and it started before that when you started to read the episodes, and we were like, okay, we don't need to read Wikipedia every review, we just need to review it, we don't need to wiki it.
I wasn't reading Wikipedia. I was just talking about the various events that happened in the season. We were having a good discussion. I only went into that because I said and then we end up with this, the Regina torture thing. I said I wasn't totally sure. I realized I went into season 3 a little bit. I didn't mean to do that. But I established that this is what happened, I was just trying to establish what happened. I mentioned that the whole Neverland thing happened, and that was where it ended with the whole thing of, okay, we established that Neverland is a thing that exists, we don't know what it's like there or what's going on there.
Okay, we just need less detail and more review.
I'm just bringing up the information that I want to review. But anyway.
Okay, but like we don't need like a play-by-play like script version.
I wasn't giving it a play-by-play. I was just mentioning the relevant character development things that happened, and we were discussing it. It was perfectly fine.
Ugh. Okay.
Anyway. Pew, you want to give some final thoughts on this?
Yeah, go check it out for yourself, and if you read Wiki and I find out, I'll shoot you in the face.
Wonderful. Like I said, I really enjoyed the season. I thought they it wasn't as good as season 1 where you had that mystery of is it true, isn't it true, and then the backstory of even though the audience knows it to be true, so on and so forth. So that was really cool. Little hints here and there. They really did it well. I mean, this season I thought they did some good stuff. I like the character of Captain Hook because I think we all agreed he was a great character. I like Neil Bellfire being brought back and introduced. Everything going on with that. I like the Mr. Gold Bell thing, trying to work that out. That was kind of interesting. Even if there were some plot holes in there, as Small mentioned earlier. Even though there was some negative things, they did a lot of interesting character development, a lot of exploring how their two different selves in different worlds can come together. What's going on in the other worlds besides Storybrooke? What's going on in the Enchanted Forest? So on and so forth. Establishing more of the backstory of Regina and why she's evil, which I thought was really good. Just a lot of great stuff in this season. Definitely go check it out. If I give the first season a 9, I'd probably give this season an 8 to an 8.5. Not quite as good as season 1, but still a lot of great stuff in here. Definitely worth checking out on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, anything like that.
Or buy the DVDs.
You can get the DVDs and Blu-rays available wherever fine movies.
So I will admit, I've been trying to buy seasons 1 and 2 for the longest time, and every time in FYE they only have season 3. So.
I will say, just because it's slightly funny, polar opposite here.
Did you buy all the seasons 1 and 2, and then now you have them and we don't? Did you buy it from America and now all the English stores have seasons 1 and 2?
I didn't say that. I said polar opposite because 3 onwards is Netflix exclusive. Literally the other day when I was buying the Batman comic, the Vampire Diaries Rare Collection, and all that, literally almost a whole aisle in our DVD store of just Once Upon a Time season 1 and 2 on sale for £10 for both seasons.
I hate you. I have to pay $30.
No season 3 on DVD.
Wow. Well, I already have 1, but I'll tell you what, Mo, if you want to get me a season 2 and get Pew a season 1 and 2, why don't you mail them to Jeff and then he can mail them to us?
I would do if you had a Region 2 DVD player.
Oh, shit, right,
season 3, you can send me seasons 1 and 2. We'll work it out like that.
Yeah, except that he can't watch ours and we can't watch his.
No, I can watch. I have a Region 3 DVD player.
Oh, lucky you.
Hey, DVD player can be Region 3 if you go over to videohelp.com, I think it was, and it gives you a code to open up the disk drive or something like that, and you just enter a code on a remote or various other stuff, and it is legal because all DVD players, by definition, are meant to be are created Region 3. They just add the region in each individual territory before they ship them.
Would a PS4 be Region 3?
PS4 would be harder to do, but...
Well, I didn't know if the PS4s would be default Region 3 since they're shipped all over the world, or if they region them too.
No, the PS4 will be region locked on the DVD and Blu-ray and stuff, but a normal DVD player is one you can make Region 3.
Okay, that's good to know. Useful information for everybody at home. So go get yourselves some DVD or Blu-ray releases of this. Check those out. Great stuff. Lots of great bonus features. There's some Comic-Con panels on the DVDs. All kinds of good stuff like that there. Interviews, commentaries, lots of good stuff. Check it out.
And I will mention, just because this is Once Upon a Time, I actually did go on cosplay as Mary Margaret, and I used my Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess because it's a big brown with golden letters book, and I actually used that as the Once Upon a Time storybook because I cut out the words and everything, and I did an awesome cosplay of Mary Margaret.
Why have I not seen pictures of this?
Because I was retarded and did not take pictures.
So you were her. So you were her when she was Snow White, or were you her when she?
I was her when she was Mary Margaret.
Weird hair version. Cool.
Well, I just figured since I already had the haircut, and I did base my haircut off of her from Once Upon a Time. So yeah, I thought it was really great. And
when did you cosplay as this and to where?
Oh, Middletown has a cosplay karaoke thing, which is really weird, and pretty much it's stupid though, because it's only for like teens who want to like slut it up as like Batman villains. And
Shouldn't that be Cosryoki?
well, it doesn't even matter because it's a bunch of freaking underage kids drinking and dressing up as like Batman horror villains, so which aren't even accurate.
Then why were you there?
I would make the
Like,
case, if they're dressing up as Batman villains, are they not still cosplaying?
They are, but they're doing it horribly inaccurate in the sense that they're just doing it to dress like really, really slutty. Like, I don't care if you're like almost nearly naked Harley Quinn, you're just pretending to be Harley Quinn for the sake of I want to be naked, and it's acceptable if it's cosplay.
Or your New 52 Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that too.
/ Suicide Squad movie Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
It's just like really shitty, like no effort, shit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like if you put in effort at least, like I would feel better. But anyway, so that's and like
Fair
again, it's just fucking like 15-year-olds who found a place that won't ID them, and they get to dress like whores.
Okay then.
So,
we hear the X-Pound do not condone underage drinking or underage dressing like whores.
Yeah, which would have been nice if the place was like a legitimate place, but it's not. And it was weird because I was dressed like Mary Margaret because I was the only female there who wasn't like trying to look like I have sex for money.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, with all that said, join us next time, which will be on the night of Friday the 21st at 11 p.m. approximately, if not earlier. And we will be taking a look at Once Upon a Time Season 3, which is the point at which up to which I have seen. If I'm able to get it come the end of the month around that time, I will watch Season 4 on Netflix, and we will try to get a review of that squeezed in before the end of the Summer of Disney as well.
If you want me to just lend you my Season 3, that's cool.
I watched Season 3. I need Season 4.
Oh, okay.
And spoiler, worst season.
I've heard that.
It's weird.
Yeah, people have told me that's weird and not good things happening. So
no, I'm not about 4. I'm about 3. Spoiler for people listening. 3 is the worst season.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I would say I'm gonna go with first half of 3 not very good. Second half of 3 a little bit better.
Yeah, the second half was a little bit better, but the fact half of it is still bad in terms of Once Upon a Time, that makes it a bad season. Whereas 4, all of 4 was good.
Yeah, 4 was really good.
Even the second half, which is a little weaker, was still better than Neverland.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens if I can watch Season 4, and we'll proceed from there. Thank you two for joining me, as always. I apologize if I went a little too into the informational detail. I do that. I like to have the information out there so I know what to discuss, so I'm making sure that I'm accurate for people that are listening, so that I don't, we don't get nitpicked in the non-existent comment section about, I think there is, because it's on YouTube, there is an existing comment section. We don't get nitpicked. Oh, no, that's not how this happened. This happened that way. I'm one of those people that's very big on making sure the facts are accurate, and sometimes that's
true. But although I would make the case, isn't a review supposed to be your thoughts, your opinions, and your interpretations? Therefore, facts don't matter, because if you're wrong, slightly vague like that, it's more of a case of, okay, you may be slightly wrong, but you can just say, okay, if someone mentions, that's not how it happened like this, you could just respond underneath of, okay, thank you for pointing out, and then in the Season 3 video, just mention, hey, we were wrong, and thanks to the user such and such for pointing this out, he feels good about himself, you feel good about doing your review, everyone wins.
Fair enough, because I know when I watch other reviews on the internet, I see people with things that I have seen or watched or whatever, and I see people getting little things wrong here and there, and like it drives me nuts. I'm like, no, that's not what happened. I'm one of those kind of people, so I'm just trying to compensate for people like me that watch reviews, but maybe I overcompensated. But yeah, so thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time for Season 3 and other such fun things like our Punch Starter here on the Summer of Disney, and, of course, other great content on the X-Pound in general.
And I'm friend Roger Rabbit, Summer of Disney, because you keep forgetting that, Paul Marcus.
Yes, Summer of Disney, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I will likely not be in that video, but go check out Marcus Shadow, Chris the Mole, Pew Pew, and all the others reviewing that. I'm James Phoenix. Peace.